Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. Today I'm working on my Lantana, which I'm looking at, but you're not. So let's change that right away. Well, I hope you can see with the Lantana that the new shoots, it gets flowers. These are the old flower stalks, and then it grows new flower stalks and grows flowers. This has been flowering, I would say since May. Lower down, they were flowering. I never really cut these back this year. I just kind of let them, I only cut back what was like in the way of something else. This is the tree I mentioned I think has the most potential as a bonsai. Right now looking at it, I can't tell you what. I've got to get this out of the pot. I think that's what I'm doing today. So let me think about what I want to put it in, and the other ones as well. I might not be able to separate these. They've been in this pot now for, I think this was their third year in this pot. So with that said, let me get going on this. All right, I'm just going to run this very thin knife down the side of down the inside of the pot as far as it'll go. The beauty of this knife is it mirrors the surface perfectly. Totally not what this knife is meant to do, but it does it better than anything. And it belonged to my grandpa, so I love using it. So let's see what's going on here. It has been raining and raining and raining. If your national news showed New York, you saw what I'm talking about. I know my son saw it in California, so I'd venture to say you all saw it too. All right, like I said, these have been in this pot way too long, and it has been raining, and this is saturated. So I'm gonna start combing through this and try and separate these trees. I'm gonna use a rounded end root rake and a chopstick for this. So I don't remember if I don't think for these I used bonsai soil. There is a fair amount of grit in here. I may have mixed bonsai soil in with potting soil. But both of these were planted outdoors in a pot. I think they were my wife's. They must have been, because she hasn't stopped telling me not to do this. Yeah, the chopstick works better. And this particular chopstick, being so elongated, with such a sharp point and made from such a hard wood, it's really great for separating fine roots. This is rosewood. Yeah, there's some movement independent of the other tree, so I probably will be able to get these apart. The ease with which I do that, though, is quite variable. I was hoping for a little bit more defined Navari. There are some large roots, and there is quite a bit of root spread. It's not real pretty. It might be useful. You know, I've been looking at this and looking at this. This is so true with so many of my trees. I look at them and I look at them and I look at them and I say, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. And I don't quite get to it. And it's really because the task is quite daunting. And maybe I don't want to, subconsciously spend the time on it now. really has to be done. And with lantana, I would call it a, you know, semi-tropical. They can overwinter indoors in my climate, but they're sold as annuals, and their flowers are just spectacular. I'm going to be deflowering this. In the nicest possible way. I'm going to be able to get a nice flat root system out of this. I can tell already. Just have to cut away this mat of roots. These are the shears that I use for this type of thing. I don't really care if I dull these too much. This will allow me to rake out the roots further down. And let's see if that helps me comb it out. Like I said, it's been raining, so the mosquitoes are out in force again. I really can't say enough about the Thermacell rechargeable mosquito repellent. I don't want to do a commercial, but it's on right now. You might be able to see some steam rising out. It has a little oil reservoir or something and a wick, and then it heats up the oil in the wick, it steams away, it lasts a long time, and it really works. I'm not bothered by mosquitoes when I have that on. I hate using mosquito repellent. You know, I'm sure it's toxic. Put it on my skin. It feels awful. This, you know, maybe I'm breathing something I shouldn't be breathing, but it's a naturally derived oil. I think I read it was like a chrysanthemum oil. I may not have it right. Thermacell, if you're out there, give me the answer. But there's no odor, and I was hearing them buzzing around my head, which I hate. And then I turn this on and they're not here anymore. If you hate mosquitoes like I hate mosquitoes, give it a try. This one says it creates a 15-foot radius, so I guess what, 7.5 feet in each direction. And there's another one which I'm going to buy next year for sure that says 20 feet. It's not much of a difference, but it's probably all BS too. All right, I haven't picked a pot for this. And these old flower stems, which I probably should have cut off because they created seeds. Let's see if I can find one. Here, if you can see that. There's two little fruit. They turn a deep purple, and you can just pluck them off. I have a bunch of them on my bench here, thinking, oh, I'll plant those. Maybe I'll plant those. So this other tree, I am going to be able to separate these, which is good. Wow. Now let me work on reducing this. Oh, that might have been a branch I wanted. I guess guess I got to be a little more careful how I handle these. Oh, it made a design choice for me. Too bad, it's a nice branch. Okay, for the tree, or the one that looks more like a tree, I've trimmed a few more roots off, and I'm going to put it in this mica pot. This one has seen better days, been chewed on by the squirrels, but still very good pot for this purpose. I want to grow this out in this pot. So let me get a base layer of soil on there. I'm going to want it up more on one side. I don't care which side, because this is a round pot. So any side will end up being the front, whichever side I like best. So make some room. You can still see it. Yeah, you can still see that. I'll spread these roots out the best I can. I did a fair amount of root pruning. Fill the rest in. There's going to be a good deal of getting the air gaps out. I'm sure there are plenty in there. So get a lot of the soil on there. This is used soil mixed with new or unused soil. The idea is to find the places under the root where you need to build up, and then kind of work the soil into those areas, and the tree will become pretty stable in the pot. I'm lifting the tree up slightly so that the roots bend down into the soil. And since I'm not wiring it in here, because wind won't be a factor for very much longer, this will be coming in the house, and I'll be leaving it in the greenhouse to recover. I'll put some rocks on top of the soil to hold it in place. And there are some roots I want to work down a little bit more. I am going to be building the soil up more in the middle, like a mound. Not too much, because I don't want the soil to run off. But this does have kind of a rotten root base. And this is indeed just a training vessel for it. And we get a little more soil on there. I'm not all that concerned with appearance right now. This tree's got a lot of recovering to do. Now, in order to lessen the load on those newly trimmed roots, I'm going to trim the tree down. Let me get it up on a turntable. Okay, placement in the pot is not all that important at the moment. Let me just reduce the mass of foliage. There's some growth coming out here, so I don't think this needs to be as long as this. I should get some growth coming out this way. So I can do that with either one of these. That should work. Cut this back to here. Also, it will stop putting energy into making fruit. I'll trim all those back. Trim this back to here. I'm going to trim this back to here. Take that old stem off. Trim that back. Take the fruiting stems off. They've already done their job. They're just going to die off anyway. As I mentioned, I probably should have cut those back during the season. But each one of these stalks represents a time that it flowered, and there's probably some that have all fallen off already. This one's way back here, it was flowering. So, that'll be my apex branch, any way you look at it. I'm going to cut it down past the newest growth. Still the apex. Cut that back. Cut that back. Take that flower stem off. So that should aid recovery by reducing the foliar mass, allowing it to concentrate on roots. So, let me water this up, put it on the, find a place for it in the greenhouse. Let that soak in a bit. If I can be sure it's steady in the pot, I may put it outside. I'm gonna have some sunny days. Okay, that's good for now. And I'm not going to plant any of the lantana cuttings this time. Just want to cut this leaf off and just let it grow on for the moment. I think I can be pretty sure that that isn't moving anywhere. I'm going to put it outside on the bench. All right, so let's look at the root system on this particular tree, which also has some interesting characteristics. But I think there are problems, some serious problems. First one I see I'm just going to try and chop that part off. Unfortunately, there's a lot of roots associated with that. What can you do? So, this one going straight down here really keeps me from being able to flatten this root base out. So, I'm going to take part of it off. Leaves me with some funny stuff here. This one starts to go down and then shoots up, so all the feeder roots are heading up. I think I wanted to take this one off here. Very soft. Probably want to take this whole piece off. The rest I'll try and stretch around. Let me see if I can find a pot worthy of this. All right, I've got this nice unglazed ceramic pot that I'm going to try and fit this in. It's going to be a little bit of a tight fit. Let me get this pot set up and I'll be back with you shortly. All right, I'm running low on battery. So let me do this again. I've wired the pot so that I can tie down this tree. It definitely needs it. Okay, let's place the tree in. Does it have a front? Doesn't matter. It's going to be one side or the other. I really don't like wiring my trees in. All right. Getting terribly low battery warning. So I will do the rest of this off camera. This one's definitely staying in the greenhouse. And I will trim down the branches. So thank you for keeping me company in my backyard.